sensors, this is one single slide that indicates how we have used so far the phosphine sensors, remote sensing, remote monitoring. So you can monitor everything from your cell phone, from your couch, from your house. You don't actually need to be there and take measurements all the time. And so we have applied phosphine sensors in all the containers of pests. In this way, we have an indication that our fumigations are successful, or we reach the concentration that we need in order to kill all the insects. So in this way, we ensure that we have 100% kill and the product is good to go, it's ready to go. Those are some indicative pictures of the real-time monitoring in the area where the pallets are. So we have done a lot of experiments in inside the pallets, outside of the container to see safety, inside the container, in different locations inside the container with different concentrations. So all of them are monitored remotely by the use of sensor, which is a 100% innovation in terms of phosphine use globally so far. And so this is a paradigm, an example of the fumigations. Those 4 boxes show that we have 4 sensors inside this container. And whenever we leave the area, we know exactly from our cell phones what the concentration is in each and every location within the container. Now, the use of low temperatures in the area of the company. The company has a clearly separated designated area with where low temperatures can be applied, and we know exactly which are the temperatures that we need to kill all the insects, including the eggs, which is the most difficult to kill live stage. And so we have huge areas that have a high capacity to be stored. So low temperatures, the so-called cold treatment, can be widely used for the non-chemical disinfestation of insects, disinfestation of the product. So this means that we are using low temperatures, especially in the case of organic products, in order to kill all the insects without the use of phosphine, without the use of conventional insecticides. A very effective method, very easy to be done. The only thing you need is a low temperature chamber, like the one you see here at the left bottom of this slide. But we didn't do only cold, we did heat at the same time, and not just heat as we know from other facilities where you heat the area, but here what we did is that we heated the product. So we applied heat directly on the commodity through this IR, infrared heater over here. So we passed the commodity through this heater on different exposure intervals, like some seconds, different distance of the product from the heating source. And we were able to identify the specific critical time intervals and the specific critical temperature levels that are effective for the control of store product insects, or the major store product insects in currants, without any loss in efficacy or without any loss in the quality of the product itself. Very effective way to disinfect currants in a very, very short interval, in seconds practically. So this is what we have done with heat directly on the product, on the commodity. Now, this is my favorite, mating disruption. In 2014-15, we have started doing a mating disruption project in the facilities of Athanassiou, and those are practically the results. When in the upper left part of the slide, you see the MD initials, which means that this is where we have applied the mating disruption dispensers within the area, within the treated area. And right after the termination of the application of mating disruption, you have practically 0 captures or very low captures. So how mating disruption works, you put those dispensers over here that release the artificial pheromone of the female of the store product moths. So this artificial pheromone covers the real pheromone from the real female. So no trapping, no oviposition, no mating, no oviposition, no subsequent generation, no next generation. So this means that you actually have a shutdown of the moth population right after the application of the mating disruption dispensers. And so far, this work yielded in 3 different commercially available mating disruption formulations that are currently registered in the European Union. checkmate, SPTAB, and dismate. So this is the main topic that Dr. Saka, right after my talk, is going to present, the evaluation of nitrogen, the evaluation of what we say the modified atmosphere. So you can play with the pressure, you can play with the ratio of the different gases within the chamber. So we have now chambers in Panegyalios that can be used for the disinfestation of stored currents in a very short interval. The issue was not just to apply nitrogen. The issue was to apply nitrogen in a way that was absolutely compatible with the with currents, with the product, with the commodity. So we didn't know to go with a long interval, long treatment, long exposure intervals like 21 days or 28 days or 2-month intervals after nitrogen. We wanted to be able to design some specific application protocols for the first time for nitrogen globally that will be used for the first time and will be 100% adopted in the case of Panegyalios for currents. And the way to do that is to combine not only modified atmospheres, but to combine two methods: modified atmospheres, which means nitrogen, and heat at the same time. So those chambers are able to reduce the oxygen by increasing the nitrogen, one, and number two, at the same time, they are able to increase the temperature, which means increase stress to the insect, increase mortality, shorter exposure intervals. So to wrap up this, we have a lot of innovative methods that we are using now in Panegyalios for insect control at the post-harvest stages of currants. Phosphine, we're still using phosphine, we are still relying on phosphine, but we apply phosphine in a very different way, in a very effective way right now with remote sensing. We see nitrogen as only the part of the project, as only a part of the integrated pest management. So nitrogen is not just a standalone procedure, a standalone method, but it's a part of an integrated pest management protocol that includes all the previous things that I presented: mating disruption, judicious use of insecticides, phosphine with sensors, heat and cold, extreme temperatures. Interestingly, we are using both heat and cold. So we heat the commodity in some areas, in some locations. We apply cold treatment of the commodity in some locations. And of course, some of those, about 75% of those methods that I shared with you are 100% compatible with organic food production, organic current production. That's it. Thank you very much. And I will be glad to answer to questions at the end of the webinar.
Thank you, Professor Athanassiou. Thank you very much. I forgot to say that Professor Athanassiou belongs to the 1% of the so-called the best agronomists in the world. He's a well-known professor, though he's quite young. Still, he's very active. And